When it comes to learning photography online these days, there are endless tutorials available, and some of them are great. They can teach you everything from Photoshop to how to make large prints. But when it comes to actually the art of photography itself, some of them can do you more harm than good. Here's the 7 photo cliches that we keep being taught that you need to stop doing if you want to move your photography to the next level. Photo cliche number 1. This is soft light, and this is the idea for a portrait to work that the sitter must be bathed in soft light, lit with an octabox, a shoot-through umbrella or a softbox. And this is totally untrue. If we think about the images of the stars from the 40s and 50s, they were often lit with really hard light, giving that drop shadow under the chin and the drop shadow under the nose. That was called butterfly lighting, and it's a really beautiful lighting style. I often like to light my portraits with just the bare bulb of the Canon Speedlight, really hard direct light. This gives a really dramatic punchy feel to an image. So the next time you're shooting a portrait, try just using hard light. Point it straight at the sitter's face, straight at the nose, and see how dramatic a difference that makes to your lighting. Photo cliche number 2. The rule of thirds. Now I know the rule of thirds can be a really handy compositional tool for when you're starting off, but the problem is if you use it all the time, your subjects are going to end up occupying the same few spaces in every picture you take. I personally love bullseyeing subjects, and this is kind of a no-no with the rule of thirds, but I think it really works. So the idea is that you need to use more tools than just the rule of thirds. If you're out taking photographs, start looking for leading lines, start looking for repeated patterns, look for colour and contrast. All of these things make up composition, and the rule of thirds, unfortunately, can make every image start to look a bit generic and a bit the same. So the rule of thirds on its own is a definite photo cliche. Photo cliche number 3. This is the idea that a portrait can only be shot on 80mm plus focal length. And it's absolutely crazy. Sure, if you want your portraits to look like everybody else's portraits, that's a really good idea. But if you want to stand out from the crowd, using the wide angle lens occasionally can give you absolutely stunning results. Some of the great photographers like Steve McCurry have shot wide angle portraits that are some of the best ever taken. Some of my favourite portraits I've ever taken have been shot with super wide angle lenses, like this portrait of a banjo player. I love wide angle. It really draws the viewer in and it really places you in the environment with your subject. So to try something different, get out that wide angle lens and forget about that 80mm rule. Photo cliche number 4. Obey the histogram. This is the idea that the histogram should in some way inform your creative process, and it's a total disaster. Although a histogram is really helpful for telling you what's happening with your highlights and your shadows, it should in no way inform what you're doing creatively. I often really underexpose a shot and put a splash of light into my sitter's face, and it creates really dramatic and powerful portraiture. If you're going to obey the histogram, then you're just going to create the same really balanced, boring images as everyone else. If we were to scan one of Caravaggio's paintings, we would find the histogram is all over the place. So my recommendation is give the histogram a miss, let your eye do the judging, and create some really dramatic and unusual portraiture. Photo cliche number 5 is excessive use of cheesy props. There's no better way to make your shots look absolutely naff. Cut back on the props, try and concentrate on your sitter, get some nice framing, get some nice light, but definitely cut down on the props. Photo cliche number 6, excessive use of lighting gels. Now lighting gels are really handy, they're great, they allow us balance colour temperature in our images, but I often see them excessively used to the point where the image becomes kind of theatrical. Lighting gels should be used really sparingly, and when they're used excessively, it's absolutely impossible to undo it in Photoshop. So I would say use your lighting gels as sparingly as possible and maybe create your looks inside a Lightroom or Photoshop wherever you edit. Photo cliche number 7 is the signed photograph. Now artists will often sign their images, but photographers putting a big watermark or a signature on it, I just think it's an absolute cliche and it's absolutely unnecessary. So the idea of signing your photograph or having some stamp or watermark on it is absolutely horrendous. It's not doing your work any favours, it's not doing you any favours. I just think it just looks nasty, naff and kind of quite 80s. So the idea of a signed photograph, not really. Okay, so that was my 7 photo cliches that I personally hate. I'm sure I've missed out on some of your personal favourites, so if so, just drop a comment in the comment section below. If you've liked this, found it helpful, or even if you've hated it, just like or subscribe, or just let me know what you think about it. If there's any topic you want me to particularly cover, let me know that as well, and I'll get it on the list. So until next time, see you later.